I've been with my partner for over 10 years. We've always been very happy together and have never had any real issues. We live alone in our own house and we're both avid gamers. We each have PC desk setups in a corner of our living room. For the past year or so, she's been working night shifts. So when she's off work, she stays up all night on her PC while I'm asleep. She has one particular friend she made online a year or two ago. He's a male friend from another part of the country whom she met through an online game. I've never had any issue with her having male friends. In fact, I've always felt very secure. She told me a while ago that her group of friends, including this guy, frequently have quite smutty discussions, talk about their intimacy preferences, and fantasize about fictional characters. But none of this bothers me. It's just harmless chatting, venting, and friendly discussions. However, more recently, I've noticed her referring to this online friend in new ways. She's been using Japanese words like "anata, my dear," etc., or "oni-chan, big brother." We both enjoy anime and have made vague attempts at learning the language in the past, so I know what these words mean. I also know that she has a particular liking for animated intimacy, which is pornographic comics or animation. At first, it caught me off guard, but then I told myself it wasn't an issue. We're still happy together, and she's still as affectionate towards me as the day we got together. Now, here's some more background information. Over the last couple of months, she's been planning a weekend trip later this year. It's just for her, her mom, and her sister. They're going to visit where this online friend lives, and she's going to meet him in person for the first time while they're there. She discussed this with me beforehand, and since I had no concerns and knew they were good friends, I said I was fine with it. She doesn't get to see her mom and sister very often since they live far away from us. On the other hand, we live quite close to my mom, so I see her fairly often. I understand that she wants some time with her family and the opportunity to meet her friend. Now, let's get to the reason I'm concerned. Last night was a fairly normal night at home. She wasn't working, so we were both in the living room playing our games at our desks, snacking, and so on. While she was in the bathroom, I got up to take a few dishes to the kitchen. As I always do, I went to her desk to get her dishes too. That's when I noticed her messages to her friend open on her screen. They were engaged in some pretty intense erotic roleplay. I wasn't expecting to see that she was doing this while I was in the room. For the first time, I got a little concerned. It led me to sit down and scroll back through their messages. Earlier that same night, they had been discussing fantasies about what they would do when they met up. This included him asking if another friend of his could come along and her replying, "I want Big Brother all to myself." His response was something like, "Oh, and what would you do when you have me all alone?" They then got into some very graphic detail, which I think is pretty hard to misunderstand. It went on to talk about snuggling up and cuddling in a way open to more possibilities. There were even mentions of her wandering hand and what she would do if she found a certain reaction. It continued in this explicit vein before she finally said they should stop, because it's a shame he's not gone to bed yet. This was just before she went to the bathroom and I came over to her desk. So now I'm sitting here in the daytime while she's asleep. I'm a bit shaken up and unsure what to think or do. I know I shouldn't have scrolled back through her private messages, but the fact that she was talking about this with him while I was right there has really upset me. I wasn't aware that she was in any way unsatisfied. Even last night earlier on, she was her usual playful self, coming up to me demanding cuddles, kisses, and general affection. However, if I confront her about it, she could, quite justifiably, say that I invaded her privacy by reading the messages, despite what she was doing in them. My feeling bad about reading it conflicts with my need to ask her what the heck is going on. I apologize if this rambled on a bit longer than intended. I'm still pretty riled up. Thank you to anyone who read it all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So why didn't you fake going to sleep and get up and see what she was up to? At this point, she is having an extramarital affair with this guy, and it sounds like she is planning to take it to the next level. Who cares if she gets mad that you read her messages? She's going to be your ex-fiancé soon. Why would you want to stay with a woman that's going to let her hands wander on his tent? There's no way she'll cancel this trip, and there's no way you'll trust her not to have intimacy with him. Confront her and dump her. It's a lot harder to be walked on when you're standing up. Update me. Comment 2. If you're not seeing this for what it is, let me help explain. This is your girlfriend already cheating on you by having intimacy roleplay conversations and preparing to physically cheat when she meets this guy. You don't need an explanation from her or anything. Set her loose because you respect yourself and want someone who's not a cheater. And in the future, be more wary about your partner having anything goes conversations with people. I get that you thought it wasn't a big deal, but having those kind of conversations with the opposite intimacy is already a sign of disrespect. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me. So, a lot has happened in the past 3 months. After that night, I decided to confront her about the messages. I waited until she woke up and we were both calm. I told her I'd seen the messages and asked her what was going on. She was initially defensive, saying it was just harmless fun and that she didn't mean anything by it. But I could tell she was hiding something. I pressed her and eventually, she admitted that she had developed feelings for her online friend. She said she didn't realize it until recently and that she was confused about what to do. This revelation hit me hard. I felt like my world was crumbling. We had always been so happy together, and now this? I didn't know how to process it. We decided to take a break from each other to figure things out. She went to stay with her mom for a while, and I stayed at home. During this time, I did a lot of thinking. I realized that I had been so focused on our relationship being perfect that I hadn't noticed the cracks forming. I had taken her for granted, assuming that everything was fine because we were happy on the surface. While she was away, I started to notice things about myself that I hadn't before. I realized that I had been neglecting my own needs and desires, always putting her first. I had lost touch with my friends and hobbies, becoming too dependent on her for my happiness. This break gave me the chance to reconnect with myself and figure out what I wanted. After a few weeks, she came back home. We had a long, honest conversation about our relationship. She admitted that she had been feeling lonely and unfulfilled, which is why she had turned to her online friend. She said she still loved me and wanted to make things work, but she needed to figure out her feelings for him first. We decided to go to couples therapy to help us navigate this difficult time. Therapy was a game changer for us. It helped us communicate better and understand each other's needs. We learned that we had both been neglecting our emotional connection, focusing too much on the day-to-day aspects of our relationship. We started making more time for each other, going on dates and having deeper conversations. It wasn't easy, but we were committed to making it work. During this time, she also continued talking to her online friend, but with clear boundaries. She told him about our situation and that she needed to focus on her relationship with me. He was understanding and supportive, which made things a bit easier. However, there were still moments of tension and jealousy. I couldn't help but feel insecure about their connection, even though she assured me that she was committed to us. One night we had a breakthrough. We were sitting on the couch talking about our future, when she suddenly broke down in tears. She confessed that she had been feeling guilty about her feelings for her online friend, and that it was tearing her apart. She said she didn't want to lose me, but didn't know how to let go of her feelings for him. I held her as she cried, and in that moment, I realized how much pain she was in. It wasn't just about me or our relationship. She was struggling with her own emotions and needed my support. We decided to take a step back and focus on rebuilding our trust and emotional connection. We agreed to limit her contact with her online friend and prioritize our relationship. It was a difficult decision, but we knew it was necessary for us to move forward. Over the next few weeks, we worked hard to rebuild our trust. We spent more time together, went on trips, and tried new activities. Slowly but surely, we started to feel more connected and secure in our relationship. However, the trip she had planned with her mom and sister was still looming over us. We had many discussions about it, and she assured me that she would respect our boundaries and focus on spending time with her family. I decided to trust her and let her go on the trip. It was a test of our relationship, and I hoped it would bring us closer together. While she was away, I had a lot of time to reflect on our journey. I realized that our relationship had been built on a strong foundation of love and trust, but we had let it weaken over time. We needed to nurture it and make it a priority. I also thought about my own needs and desires and how I could be a better partner. I wanted to be more present and supportive and not take her for granted. When she returned from the trip, she was different. She seemed more at peace and had a renewed sense of commitment to our relationship. She told me that meeting her online friend in person had helped her gain clarity. She realized that while she cared for him, her feelings for me were much stronger. She wanted to focus on us and work towards a better future together. We continued going to therapy and working on our relationship. It wasn't always easy, but we were both committed to making it work. We learned to communicate better, be more honest with each other, and prioritize our emotional connection. We also made an effort to spend more quality time together and support each other's individual needs and desires. Looking back, I can see how this experience has made us stronger. It forced us to confront our issues and work through them together. We learned a lot about ourselves and each other, and our relationship is better for it. We're not perfect, but we're committed to growing and evolving together. Thank you for reading. Am I the idiot for telling my kids their mom needs time to herself? When she really just doesn't want to see them, I wasn't bothered and was willing to ignore it and carry on. But she kept making issues over it, and eventually we split up. I moved back to my home city about 2 hours away, and the kids came with me. My ex-wife said it was too far for her to travel to have them on weekends. So every Saturday morning, I've been driving them up to her and then picking them back up Sunday evening so they get to see their mom. We'd make fun trips out of it, would take snacks, play audiobooks, have sing-alongs, etc. But I noticed they always seemed happier to be picked up than taken there. I just always assumed it was because all their stuff and their main home was with me. My ex has started to cancel these weekends a bit recently. 3 of the last 5, she's canceled. She started to say things like, "They don't like me anyway, and you've poisoned them," which is not true. I have never said anything bad about their mom to them or in front of them and never would. Plus, I make 2 4-hour round trips every weekend so she can see them and they can see her. I'll be honest, every Saturday after I drop them off, I cry all the way home. I miss them so much. They are my little best mates. Every night after dinner, we will all do our chores and do a different activity. Sometimes it's a walk in the woods behind my house, or we bake, or have movie nights, or read books together. I'm quite good with my hands and love making and fixing things, whether it's baking, cooking, DIY, or car repairs. And they have started to take an interest too, so we have a couple of projects on the go, like building a kind of Wendy house for them. But it will have games consoles, a fridge for their drinks and snacks, etc. Plus, we are also building a couple of petrol go-karts from scratch for them to race at a nearby track when they are done, which they are designing themselves and we are building together. Basically, my life is taken up with them in the week, and then on weekends, I feel like a lost zombie until it's time to go get them. Then yesterday, I received a short text from her saying she no longer wants to see them. All they do is ask for me anyway. They don't have fun there, and they basically get in the way. I was absolutely heartbroken for my boys, and I rang her straight away. I'll be honest, I started crying as I felt so bad for them, and she genuinely acted like I was annoying her for wanting to get to the bottom of it. She then said, "Sounds like you don't want them either and are just trying to palm them off at the weekends," and hung up on me. I don't even know how I'm going to tell them this. Do I just say she's canceled for a few weeks and see how it goes? Do I tell them the truth? How do I say it in a way that kids will understand and won't absolutely crush them? Then I've got the conflicted selfish emotion of pure joy that I'll have the whole weekends with them. It's so selfish of me. I know, as they are going to be sad while I'm happy. Has anyone been in a similar situation from my side or the kids' side? How do I handle this? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Don't force your kids to be with her. She is a vile trash of a woman, and the less effect she has on their upbringing, the better. Make sure to quickly talk to your lawyer about getting this evidence that she doesn't want them, so you can have it as ammunition if needed for court. Then make sure that a child support order is in place. The money isn't for you, it's for your kids. So make sure to get it. 7 days with a parent that wants them is much better than 5 days with you and 2 days with a parent that doesn't want them. Comment 2. In my opinion, 2 things are critical. 1. Get this locked in legally as well as child support. So go to a lawyer as soon as possible. 2. How to tell the children in an age-appropriate way that results in the least amount of damage. At the very least, you should go to a children's therapist to get a script as to how you will tell them and how to support them. I think they might also benefit from individual therapy to help them with the abandonment. Good luck, OP. Your kids are lucky to have you. Edit. Words missing. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. So after that heartbreaking text from my ex, I decided to take a few days to process everything before talking to the kids. I didn't want to make any rash decisions or say something that might hurt them more. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to approach the conversation and decided to keep it simple and honest. I told them that their mom needed some time to herself and that we would be spending more weekends together. They seemed a bit confused, but didn't ask too many questions, which was a relief. The first weekend without the trip to their moms was actually really nice. We finished building the Wendy house, and the kids were so excited to decorate it. We put up some fairy lights, set up their game consoles, and stocked the fridge with their favorite snacks. It was a great distraction for them, and seeing their smiles made me feel a bit better about the whole situation. But then something unexpected happened. My oldest, who's usually pretty quiet, came up to me one night and asked if their mom didn't love them anymore. It broke my heart to hear that, and I had to hold back tears as I reassured him that she did love them, but was going through a tough time. He seemed to accept that, but I could tell it was still bothering him. A few days later, I got a call from my ex's sister. She told me that my ex had been struggling with some personal issues and had started seeing a therapist. Apparently, she had been feeling overwhelmed and didn't know how to handle everything, which is why she decided to take a step back from seeing the kids. This gave me a bit more context and made me feel slightly less angry at her, but it didn't make it any easier to explain to the kids. I decided to tell the kids that their mom was getting some help to feel better and that it was important for her to take this time for herself. They seemed to understand a bit more, and I could see a mix of relief and sadness in their eyes. It was a tough conversation, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. As the week went on, I noticed some changes in the kids. They seemed to be more clingy and wanted to spend more time with me, which I was happy to do. We started new projects together, like building a treehouse in the backyard and planting a small garden. These activities kept them busy and gave them something to look forward to. One evening while we were working on the treehouse, my youngest asked if their mom would ever come back. I didn't know how to answer that, so I just told him that we needed to give her some time and that we would always be here for her when she was ready. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I knew I had to stay strong for them. In the midst of all this, I started to reflect on my own feelings. I realized that I had been so focused on making sure the kids were okay that I hadn't really taken the time to process my own emotions. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and even guilt. I wondered if there was something I could have done differently to prevent this from happening. But then I reminded myself that I was doing the best I could and that I needed to be kind to myself. One night, after the kids had gone to bed, I sat down and wrote a letter to my ex. I poured out all my feelings, my frustrations, and my hopes for the future. I didn't know if I would ever send it, but it felt good to get everything off my chest. It was a therapeutic exercise that helped me gain some clarity and perspective. As the week came to an end, I started to see some positive changes in the kids. They seemed more settled and were starting to accept the new routine. We had a movie night on Friday, and they picked out their favorite films. We made popcorn, snuggled up on the couch, and had a great time. It was a small moment of normalcy that we all needed. Looking back, I realized that this whole experience had brought us closer together. The kids and I had always been close, but this situation had strengthened our bond even more. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I felt more confident in my ability to handle them. I also started to think about my own future. I had been so focused on the kids that I hadn't really considered what I wanted for myself. I decided to take some time to explore my own interests and hobbies. I signed up for a woodworking class and started going for runs in the morning. These small changes helped me feel more balanced and gave me a sense of purpose outside of being a dad. As I sit here writing this update, I feel a mix of emotions. I'm still heartbroken for my kids and worried about their mom, but I'm also hopeful for the future. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm doing my best to be there for them in every way I can. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for breaking up with my girlfriend after she let her coworker kiss her me, and my girlfriend have been together for almost 5 months now? A month ago, my girlfriend and I got into a fight because I pointed out how a male coworker, 29 years old, of hers, was clearly showing signs of interest in her, taking hours off of work to help her with chores, buying her dinners, gifts, etc. And I told her I was uncomfortable with her spending alone time with him. She told me that I was overreacting and that she's allowed to have friends. I told her that the second things got inappropriate between them, she would have to sever ties with him, to which she said she obviously would. The fight ended with both of us feeling really upset, and we ended up taking space from each other for a few days. Things began good again after that. Fast forward to now, My girlfriend suddenly tells me that during the few days we weren't talking, her and the male friend watched a movie at her place, and he kissed her during it. I asked if she tried to stop it, and she said no, and that they didn't do anything after that, and they haven't had contact since. I asked why she didn't tell me, and she said that she was afraid of losing me. I guess I'm just lost on what to do now. It feels like she disrespected my boundaries for our relationship, yet I'm not even sure if this constitutes as cheating, if she was only complicit with the kiss. Any advice on how to go about this situation would be greatly appreciated. Now for an update. First of all, wow, I did not expect nearly this many responses. I was hoping for at least 3 people to validate my concerns that this was cheating, but instead, I got a whole lot more, and I appreciate the support everyone gave. I've read as many as I possibly could in whatever downtime I've had in order to process what's happening to the best of my ability, and I truly appreciate every single one. Second, I did end up breaking up with her. I blocked and initiated no contact like the vast majority of you all suggested. It was terrible, and I've been crying ever since, and still am even now. But I haven't doubted for even a second that this was the wrong choice. I definitely came to realize that this was not something I would ever be able to move forward from in time, especially so early on. This sounds cheesy, but seeing so many people state what's obvious to them yet is questionable to me is a huge wake-up call for just how terrible my self-esteem issues are. And I cannot express enough how grateful I am for each and every response, no matter how harsh they may have seemed. I will try my best in the near future after this to work solely on myself. Thank you, everyone. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, FF's a few days not talking, and she chooses to go on a date with the guy she knows wants her. And is surprised he kisses her? And she didn't stop him from doing so, means he did not kiss her. They made out, OP. Kids kiss, adults engage in intimacy activity. GF cheated with the coworker and is now trickle-truthing you. Break up, block and no contact. Comment 2. Have some respect for yourself, buddy, and dump her. She doesn't respect you at all. Don't let anyone treat you like that. You're better than that. She probably engaged in oral intimacy with him. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since the last post. After breaking up with my girlfriend, I tried to focus on myself and my own well-being. I started going to the gym more regularly and even picked up a new hobby, painting. It was something I always wanted to try but never had the time for. It helped keep my mind off things, at least for a while. But then, about 2 weeks ago, I got a message from her. She said she wanted to talk and clear the air. I was hesitant but agreed to meet up. When we met, she apologized for everything that happened and admitted that she had been wrong to dismiss my concerns about her coworker. She said she realized how much she hurt me and wanted to make amends. I could see she was genuinely remorseful, but I was still wary. I told her that while I appreciated her apology, I needed more time to heal and figure things out for myself. She understood and said she would respect my space. A few days after that meeting, I ran into her coworker at a local coffee shop. It was awkward, to say the least. He approached me and said he wanted to apologize as well. He admitted that he had feelings for my ex and that he had crossed a line. He said he regretted his actions and wanted to make things right. I told him that while I appreciated his apology, the damage was already done, and there was no going back. He nodded and left, and I haven't seen him since. Around the same time, I started noticing some changes at work. My boss, who had always been supportive, suddenly became distant and critical of my work. I couldn't figure out why until a coworker mentioned that my ex had been talking to him. Apparently, she had been trying to get some advice on how to handle the situation with me, and my boss took it the wrong way. He thought I was bringing personal drama into the workplace, and it affected his perception of me. I had to sit down with him and explain everything that had happened. It was uncomfortable, but he eventually understood and things went back to normal. Meanwhile, I started seeing a therapist to help me work through my feelings and improve my self-esteem. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. During one of our sessions, I realized that my issues with trust and self-worth stemmed from my childhood. My parents had a tumultuous relationship, and I often felt like I had to choose sides. This made me wary of getting too close to people and always fearing betrayal. Understanding this helped me see why I reacted the way I did with my ex, and why it was so hard for me to move on. As I continued therapy, I also reconnected with some old friends. One of them in particular had been through a similar situation and offered a lot of valuable advice. He told me that it was important to set boundaries and stick to them, but also to be open to forgiveness and growth. His words resonated with me, and I started to feel more at peace with everything that had happened. Then last week, something unexpected happened. My ex reached out again, but this time it was different. She told me that she had been seeing a therapist as well and had come to some important realizations about herself. She admitted that she had a pattern of seeking validation from others, which led to her inappropriate relationship with her coworker. She said she was working on breaking that pattern and becoming a better person. She didn't ask for us to get back together, but wanted me to know that she was genuinely trying to change. Hearing this was both comforting and confusing. On one hand, I was glad she was taking responsibility for her actions and working on herself. On the other hand, it brought back a lot of emotions I thought I had moved past. I talked to my therapist about it, and she helped me see that while it's okay to feel conflicted, I need to focus on my own healing first. She reminded me that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or getting back together. It means letting go of the anger and hurt so I can move forward. As I processed all of this, I started to see a pattern in my relationships. I often chose partners who needed fixing or who had their own issues, thinking I could help them. This realization was a huge eye-opener for me. It made me see that I needed to work on myself and my own issues before I could have a healthy relationship with someone else. So that's where I am now. I'm focusing on my own growth and healing, and while it's been a tough journey, I feel like I'm finally on the right path. I've learned a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship, and I'm hopeful for the future. Thank you all for your support and advice. It has meant the world to me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!